r/askreddit by Reddit and chill. What is the most $1 has ever gotten you? My great grandma used to give all of her great grandchildren $1 every time she saw us. It was a sweet gesture. And all of us great grandchildren would love seeing her and enjoying the free money. She's recently been moved to a nursing home due to the risk of falling because her body is extremely weak. She's 95. I moved in with my boyfriend in August and went through my things while I packed. I found, concealed in a child's Bible, $1 wrapped in a note which read, "Dear baby, smile away. I can't wait until you're born. Here's your first $1. Make sure mommy keeps it. I love you very much." A few weeks later, my mom, sisters and I went to visit her in the home. As my mom is her primary caretaker, I pulled the $1 from my pocket and read the note aloud. My great grandma's eyes lit up and she beamed. "Oh wow. Look at that. Comma," she said. "I'm glad mommy didn't spend it all. It was a pretty priceless moment." Edit. Added a missing great. Edit 2. Whoa. Platinum? Thank you. You guys are so sweet. Glad I could make you smile. $92. Worked a coat check at an auction and we weren't supposed to have a tip jar. Well, someone placed an empty glass on the counter and eventually someone else thought it was a tip jar and started tipping. I said nothing. It got so full that I had to empty it. And then people no longer tip because it was just an empty cup. So I put $1 back in, which made people assume it was a tip jar again, and then the tips came flowing again. Second wave of tips made $92. So putting $1 back in made me $92. I regret absolutely nothing. This is psychology. My sister learned this in class and used it when she worked a concession stand one summer. She threw $1 in and customers started tipping. I bought a McDonald's burger for this homeless guy near my old job. The guy was grateful. So he taught me how to make origami cranes and we became friends. Fast forward follow up. He got back on his feet and now has a nice apartment and a really annoying, yappy dog. Teaches craft classes at a local community center. He teaches crafts. That is, his dog doesn't teach. That'd be silly. That'd be awesome. A wife. I signed up for a river tour in a foreign country. It cost me an extra $1 to ride in the first boat leaving. Didn't want other boats in the way of my photos. Met someone on that boat who later introduced me to her cousin. Been married 8 years. Lucky. The wife I bought for $1 went back to Russia with my entire Beanie Baby collection last week. I found a huge book at this hole-in-the-wall thrift store. It basically diagrams and explains everything about how an automobile works. But it was printed in the early 80s. So pretty out of date. However, it still taught me quite a bit and I'm essentially invulnerable against mechanics trying to duck me. The knowledge was worth way more than $1. Edit. Trying to find it so I can disclose the correct title. Title is Automotive Principles and Service. Published by Reston Publishing Company Incorporated. 1980. Okay. I give. It's fixed. It's not outdated if you buy a car from the early 80s. How you'd even be able to maintain it yourself. I bought a cookie for $1 at a bake sale. Didn't really want it later on. Gave it to a lady I worked with. She loved me for it. I was her favorite after that. That lady was my a-hole of a boss. Best $1 ever. I was expecting a porn plot. But I got wholesome employees instead. A friendship. To clarify, I live in Europe and we actually don't have dollars here. Duh. When I came back from New York I had some dollars left and had them in my wallet still for a long time. Even when I forget about them from time to time. Once I was talking to a girl I met and started talking about America. She had never been there and I remembered that I had $1 in my wallet. I gave it to her and she was really happy. Still talking to her to this day. Only a bit less than we used to, but safe to say I can call her a friend of mine. $1 for a friendship is definitely worth it. A full evening's entertainment. I'd bet my friend $1 he wouldn't break into our university's football stadium. He did. But he did so right in front of a security guard, who then proceeded to chase him around. Flashlight waving the whole time. In full view of the rest of us outside a fence. This chase went on for probably 5 minutes. Through the stands and across the field. My buddy came flying out a different fence. But ripped his pants open in the process, sharp top to the chain link. So he was then running down the street away from a frustrated security guard while giving said guard the full moon. If unintentionally. Anyways. That led to getting beers while watching cop cars drive around the neighborhood slowly. I can only assume looking for a guy with no ass to his pants. Totally worth $1. You can't buy entertainment that fun for 10 times the price. €1. Not $1. But still. About 5,000 low quality earplugs. They do the job fine. I still have like a 100. I don't know where the rest went. Have you checked your ears? AWW. Man. This was in my opinion better deserving of anything than my reply. Thanks so much. IDK what I shall do with my newfound access. And power. But I'm sure it will be something mediocre at best. What do I do now? I can't choose one from among these awesome replies. I used to work at a motel doing the night audit. There was a Papa John's across the street. And in our scratch your back you scratch mine agreement they would deliver me a 10-inch pizza for $1 as often as I liked. I would tip $1 to the driver. And suggest Papa John's to any patrons looking for a bite to eat. Smart Papa John's franchisee right there. I was working retail and one of the old ladies who used to come in and look at the TVs in my department while they waited for it to be time for the bus back to their independent living facility came over all faint. She asked if I had anything sweet she could have. I got a Coke from the drinks machine in the break room and she drank it slowly. Holding onto my arm. My manager had called her an ambulance and they loaded her up and took her away. Diabetic. The EMT said the Coke was just a thing for her and slapped me on the back. I still remember her little wave as she left. She lived. I didn't save her life or anything. But that dollar made the difference between her getting into the ambulance conscious and with dignity. Versus unconscious and sick. She said later when I visited her at the hospital that she might have had to move from independent to assisted living without it. So that was a good $1. Best soda I never drank. This is amazing. You say you didn't save her life. But who knows? You could have done. If she'd have slipped into a diabetic coma or something there's a chance they might not have been able to get her back. Well done you. You should be mega proud of yourself. Not $1 but 60p. Got me 2 donuts from Sainsbury's which I enjoyed with my mate when we went to a football match. Probably the most I've ever appreciated a food item. That 60p was literally all I had left in my bank account. If I'm ever down to my last $1, I hope I can enjoy it on a nice donut. I won $40 off of a $1 scratcher once. That was an awesome surprise. When I was 16 my aunt and uncle wanted to give me an old hand-me-down car that both my cousins used when they first got their licenses. But because of tax purposes, it made more sense to sell the car to me. I bought my first car for $1. McChicken with mac sauce. Didn't get charged for the mac sauce. Beautiful. Lived in Oregon for a while with no sales tax. Nice to be able to go in with a $1 bill and walk out with a McChicken. Once bought a beer for €1. Turns out you get a raffle ticket with each drink. Long story short I won a surfboard. What did you do with a surfboard? A rather bossy loud woman came into our shop to talk to my brother. My 6-year-old nephew told her she needed to leave so he could finish his homework. She laughed and left. I gave my nephew $1 for getting her to leave. I didn't tell him why he got the $1. Black Friday the local animal shelter has a special any black dog or cat for a $1. Nephew buys a dog with his $1. So $1. Got rid of an annoyance. Saved a dog's life. Gave my nephew a great pet. Annoyed the shit out of my brother because he really didn't want another dog at the house. A rather bossy loud woman came into our shop to talk to my brother. My 6-year-old nephew told her she needed to leave so he could finish his homework. She laughed and left. I gave my nephew $1 for getting her to leave. I didn't tell him why he got the $1. My mom tells a story of how I did the same when I was little. She was chatting with a friend of hers but said friend had overstayed her welcome and was just talking and talking non-stop. Me. Being a little kid with no filter and wanting my mom and I to leave. Looked at the woman in her eyes and straight up told her, "You never shut up. Do you?" My mom was mortified. Didn't know what to say. But the woman took it well. Said something like, "You know what? You're right. I'll say goodbye now." Told my mom not to worry and something about truth from the mouths of babes and left. When I was in high school, I lived near a grocery store that sold packs of 10 cookies for $1. On the few occasions I had $1 to spare, my parents were very reluctant to give me money unless it was for school. My favorite thing to do was go there after school sports practice, buy a pack, and eat them on the swings at the nearby playground. A couple years ago, I was back home for the holidays and decided to recreate the tradition for old time's sake. To remember a simpler time in my life. At this point, I was late in college with a steady job. Thus, I could easily afford to spend $1. I went to the same store, bought the same type I always did, located the same swing in the same park I always sat on, and prepared for a nostalgia overload. And let me tell you, the cookies were terrible. If you have the means, treat yourself better than 10-cent cookies. Edit. Thank you for the gold, kind stranger. This is the precise reason why I won't recreate my middle school weekends. A $5 giant can of Monster, $4 2-pound box of mini brownies, followed by hyperactive nausea while biking on hiking trails. Bought an interesting looking silk blouse at a pay-by-weight Goodwill outlet. $99 per pound. So was less than $1. Technically, since it weighed mere ounces. Turned out to be rare vintage Versace. Sold it for around $700. Nice. A hell of a come up. Okay. To preface this, we grew up really poor and every now and then we would go to this cheap store where everything is expired and my mom would let me and my siblings, there's 4 of us, had $1 to spend, and so we would try to make it count, and I think the most I ever got was a sucker, a Tootsie Roll, an apple juice box, and 8 gumballs. Sounds like a sweet duck in haul for $1. I don't know if this counts, but I went to a local casino a few years ago and I was down to my last $2. I was halfway out the door defeated, but I walked by a row of cheap slots. I found a 20-line game at 1 penny per line. So I put the last of my money in the machine and I had a decision to either bet 20 cents, 40 cents, 60 cents, 80 cents, $1 or $2. I only had enough money in there for one spin at max bet, but I kinda wanted to make what little money I had last. I decided 40 cents a spin. To win the jackpot on this machine, you needed to get the top symbol, which was a race car I think, across an entire line for it to hit. The reels are spinning. It felt like slow motion. The 5 race cars landed across the center line. Some old guy sitting next to me who had been playing there starts freaking out. "You just hit the jackpot." I got really excited. But then the money stopped counting after $80. Turns out you needed to be playing max bet, $2 a spin, in order to trigger the jackpot. Instead I won $80 off a 0.40 cent wager. That's still a 20,000% return. Nice. TLDR. A wife, 3 beautiful children, and frankly my life as I know it. Story time. Back in junior high, I liked a girl and flirted with her quite a bit. One time, during a band trip, we stopped at a gas station and she bought me a pack of gum. I tried to pay her back $1 but she refused. So, I slipped the $1 in her pocket. She then slipped the dollar in my backpack and so began the back and forth with the $1 bill. We found silly ways to give it back and forth. I mailed it to her house. She stuffed it in a gum wrapper and offered me a piece. I then decided that I would ask her out on this $1. I wrote, "Will you go out with me?" on it and put it in a note and gave it to her. She said yes, of course. It would be a terrible story otherwise, I suppose. About 4 years later, I still had the same dollar kept away. On our anniversary, I wrote, "Will you marry me?" on the bottom of the dollar. We have been married for 15 years and have 3 awesome kids. We still have that dollar stored away. Picture of the dollar for those curious. This is the best story on this thread. When I was very young, around 6, I think, I was sitting on a curb trying, and failing, to play my new, toy, guitar, when an old man put a dollar bill at my feet. I was absolutely flabbergasted, and tried to give it back to him. But he explained he was tipping me. I was then introduced to the wonderful and lucrative world of busking, from which I have received lots of enjoyment and cash in recent years. I want to be an artist in a park working on pieces with a hat by my feet for tips. But my local park requires you to buy a permit to do that sort of thing and it's like $200. Ducking, like and subscribe.